Welcome to Kolia Bahau. Today we are delighted to introduce you to Ms. Zema, Mission Director of USAID. So I understand that USAID is supporting election programming in Timor-Leste. What will be the focus of this work? Can you tell us about it?
Yes, as you noted, USAID is supporting the presidential election process. We've provided funding, $500,000 specifically, US dollars, to IRI and IFAS to implement two different programs that will both focus on youth and women and other marginalized groups. The two activities are voter education as well as support to domestic observation.
You have a personal immigration story that has shaped your interest in promoting democracy and human rights abroad, including in Timor-Leste. Can you tell us about the story?
Sure, that's a great question. I was born and raised in Ethiopia, which is in East Africa. During my childhood, there was a change in government, which was a very difficult time because the new government was very autocratic. So my family and I had to escape without really telling anyone because it was a very charged environment. So when we came to the US, I actually had an opportunity to pursue a career because of the opportunities that the US offers to anyone, really, and the inclusiveness that we have in the US. It was possible for me to pursue my dream of giving back to countries like Ethiopia and bringing in more inclusiveness, peace, and prosperity. And that naturally led me to USAID as a career. My father was also in the UN, the United Nations, so I also had that interest as well on the personal side. But in any case, now a few years later, I'm here in Timor-Leste as mission director, one of the few African American or Black American mission directors. That's makes it really meaningful for me in the sense I'm giving back also and hopefully contributing to the economic and social well-being here in Timor-Leste. With all of the experiences I've had in other places, I've served mostly in Africa, but I've also served in West Bank, Gaza. So I hope to bring that experience forward, personal and professional.
So it is widely known that the US has faced democracy setbacks and the efforts were made to try to steal the last election. Do the democratic challenges faced by America right now make your work on democracy building overseas more difficult?
So as President Biden said a few months ago, there's no perfect democracy. Democracy is a process, and what we were able to do in the US, given that challenging situation you mentioned, was to use those same democratic and open systems to move forward. And in the end, we prevailed. So for me, the bigger lesson is the more open a society is, the more inclusive it is, the more the possibility there is for peace. So I feel comfortable in terms of being able to influence change in other countries with that background. And I have had nothing but success here and other countries I've served in that regard.
And what are some of the democratic deficits that you have identified in Timor-Leste that you feel it is important to address?
I wouldn't say I've seen many deficits. I'm actually very impressed by what Timor-Leste has achieved. It's a young country that has managed to have free, open, and secure elections over and over again. And I think Timorese people should be very happy and proud of that achievement. It's actually Timor-Leste has set a standard in the region in this sense. So we're here basically in terms of the USAID assistance I mentioned, just to make sure that there's as much potential and possibilities for everyone to vote. Given the impact of COVID, it's also important to make sure to keep an eye on the election and make sure that everyone feels safe voting and is able to vote that wants to vote. So we're actually I'm very optimistic about the future of this country, given the history. And I will, as I mentioned earlier, I'll do my best to bring forward as much of our resources and the partnerships too that we formed here on the ground with the government of Timor-Leste, with other donors and our implementing partners to move the needle. And I'm very optimistic, actually.
So, yeah, well, that was the last question we have for today. Thank you for joining Kolya Bahau today. And is there anything else you have to say before we close this interview?
Sure. Thank you, Mana Maria. And you're very welcome. But I actually wanted to thank you for having me on your show today. I really have appreciated having you as the IRI Senior Program Officer, being able to lead this conversation, asking really great questions. And, as a young woman, to see you in this role, it really makes me excited. I hope it's very encouraging to your audience that you have this great leadership role, impactful role. So it is my pleasure, and thank you for having me. And it was my pleasure being here with you today.
Thank you for watching, and see you next time.